Today is November 9th, 2025. We're up here at the Copco Valley. We're coming into East Beaver Creek. Thought we'd come up today and see what everything was looking like after the rains. Everything is definitely turning a little bit greener than it was even a few weeks ago when I was here. That way would be looking down the rest of Copco Valley towards the town of Copco. You can't quite see it from here. I'm not even sure if you could quite see Mallard Cove from here. It looks like they've got all of the equipment out. I'm not going to go all the way around today, but in that area that I'm looking at right there, you can kind of see the road track. That is the area when I was up here last time. They still had the cat and I think a few things up here. And it looks like they've got everything gone and out of here now. You can definitely see where they've worked up the ground around here. If you look down there in the bottom, you can see where they've been putting all the woody debris in. Down there in the bottom is where East Beaver Creek flows. I'll kind of pan out so you can kind of see what this whole area is looking like. And we're going to make our way that direction up to the top of East Beaver Creek. But you can kind of see in my phone here how green things are turning. Like I said, we've had a lot of moisture lately. We haven't been real cold. We've still been in the 60s. Today I think is 55. We're supposed to get more rain at the end of this week. And you can kind of see as East Beaver Creek flows down to the Klamath River. And you can see the Klamath River there in the background. All of our fall colors are in play. So anyways, just thought I would show you what it's looking like from here. I'm going to pause it and head on up the road. So we kind of come up the road a little bit. It's kind of looking like a mess down in here. I'll just kind of pan out and show you kind of what this whole area is looking like. I'll kind of come over here around the corner a little bit, so I'm more on the edge. But it's definitely kind of a muddy mess down there. You can definitely see where the tracks were from where they were down in there. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see which path or which direction this creek takes. So you can see even what it's looking like down there further. You can definitely tell where the tracks were with the equipment where they were in. I'm kind of thinking the creek has taken its path right there in the middle. But like I said, we did get a lot of rain this last time, more than we did the first storm that came through. Right now it just looks like a muddy mess down there. Gonna just kind of go slow. I think the creek is, I'm zooming in, that looks like that's where the creek path is taking. Then we kind of get into the bench right here where you can't really see, but you can see still some of the rest of this woody debris. So in this shot you can't really see the creek because it's on the bottom side of that bench. And I'm gonna make my way on up that direction to see where the creek is. But this is kind of what it's currently looking like. And actually, if I follow the path of it, you can see it's kind of shooting through this area right in the middle. because I can see where the movement is. Then it looks like it goes up and around that way somewhere. You can see where the water flow is. It looks like it's cutting up through there. And makes its way down through there. So anyways, that's what this area is looking like. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it and head on up the road.
I'm a good scout.
Yes, you are. So we're looking down East Beaver Creek. I drove up the road just a little bit, so that's what it's looking like as it's flowing out. That whole area is what I was just videoing. So it kind of gives you another perspective of what that area is looking like. Hot, muddy mess is what I would call it. You can definitely see the tracks in there where they were driving around, where some of that water is settled from all the rainstorms that we've had. And this is kind of what the rest of this area is looking like. So anyways, I'm going to continue on up the road to see. I'm sure I've got a better vantage spot further up the road. So I come up the road just a little bit. So this is kind of what this area is looking like. So you can see that the creek goes over in that direction and around that bend over there. Like I said, you can definitely see where all the tracks are. It's settled with the rain. And then this is kind of what it's looking like up higher on East Beaver Creek. I'll stand back here a little bit so you can see up there all the way. So it would be up in that region is where Beaver Creek comes into, where they started the restoration work. And the creek makes its way over that direction where the green is. I'm not quite sure where it goes from there. I'm gonna make my way up that way just to see where it goes. But this is kind of like what it's looking like now. It looks like it might cut over there to the bank as I'm looking to see where it comes in over here on this side. Sorry if it's a little shaky. So you can see it doesn't look very wide, maybe a couple feet wide. I'd say maybe 6 inches deep tops. There's some areas that doesn't look very deep at all. Kind of like in that area right there, it doesn't look very deep. You can definitely tell where the cat tracks are, all the water that's in there. Then we kind of get to where I was just looking. I'm trying to look through all the trees to see where it bends through there. So anyways, that's what East Beaver Creek is looking like from here. Just to show you kind of what it's looking like through all the trees. I just kind of try to stop to see where I can see a good vantage point. So I'm going to continue on up the road. So I'm taking a little walk. Nowhere down in here do I see any no trespassing signs. So I thought I'd kind of come down in here and just see what things are really looking like from down here. So that's kind of how it's looking like going downstream. Oh, hold on. I'm going to shoot up above you. This is kind of what it's looking like upstream. Up there is where they started the restoration part. So I might attempt to walk down in here and see how soft it is. So we're gonna go on a little field trip. I definitely wouldn't drive down in here as it is pretty soft. We'll get to come right up here and see actually what the little creek looks like. It looks like the cows or something have been down in here. So this would be East Beaver Creek. It's not very deep. I'd say maybe 3 foot across. It's pretty soft. It's not that deep. You can kind of see where it drops right here visually. That looks pretty solid. Looks like they kind of tried to create a little dam right here. You can see they've even got a small piece of wood in right there. So it's just kind of made its way around this wood debris that they put in. So to be honest, I don't know how any fish would get past this. They'd have to jump over. I'm sure they could jump over all this wood, but I just don't know if fish will ever come up this way. I don't know if they were common up this way. The ground is actually fairly decently solid. I'm not really sinking in it. But this is kind of what it's... Did you sink? Oh God, he sunk. Hold on. Alright, so I'm going to continue on up. So you can see where they've got all the woody debris at. They've got this piece in here. So you can see it's blocking the water right here, but it's making its way that direction and around it. It seems like a decent sized pool right here, just because I'm assuming that log is right there. This is kind of what it's looking like down the creek. But you can see it's not very wide here, and it's not, I don't know if I want to step in that. That looks pretty soft right there. But it's not very deep. Some places where the wood is, it might be a foot or two. I'd say a foot, but it's not very deep. You can see some old mussel shells that are still down in here. Nice fun little field trip today. Haven't been down in here, but like I said, there's nothing, no trespassing signs anywhere that I see. Not quite sure what that is. I'm assuming it was an anchor somebody used for a boat. And so you can see all the woody debris that they've put in over here. This part right here looks like it's going to get pretty soft. So I'm going to kind of walk around that soft area. Let's come see. No, it's not bad. I can walk on it. I'm not sinking. But you can kind of see this looks like a deeper little hole right here. And right here, looks like they got a rock right here, or maybe that's the mud. Looks like it's probably just the dirt. Definitely more is starting to stick to my boots. Created a little log jam here. It's making its way under and around. I don't know if it'll try to cut this way, but it looks like it's kind of creating a bigger pool over here. So I'm gonna kind of walk this way, and I don't really want to walk out there where it looks pretty soft. So that's actually, you can see where the previous bottom was. That was the big ravine that they kind of took a lot of the sediment out on this other side. But that's kind of what the whole area was kind of looking like with all that dirt. So they've cleared a lot of it out. Might see if I can cross right here, which I can quite easily. It's not very deep. I'd say maybe 6-8 inches. Oh, that might be kind of soft. Made my way through. So like I know that they said that they created this as a floodplain for East Beaver Creek. I just don't ever see it flooding this wide. I mean, like I said, we've had some decent rainstorms already, nothing like last winter. Created a little dam right here. It looks like it's making its way under. It's just kind of pushing its way underneath the log. I just think that this is kind of interesting. I don't know. We've seen a lot of wood pieces that have those carvings on them. I'm not sure what the reason is, but there are a lot of them. So anyways, I'll keep filming and just kind of show everybody what this whole area is kind of looking like. And I'm not sure what the purpose of these are. Maybe a preemptive beaver dam. I'm not really sure. Definitely a lot of debris in here. I'm thinking that these, I'm not sure what kind of if this is a willow tree or what these are that they've planted with all the woody debris around it. See all the rock. Like I said, to me, some of this just doesn't make any sense. What they're doing here, why so much woody debris. I don't ever foresee this creek flooding out this wide. You can see where a lot of this woody debris, they've sunk in the ground. And the dead trees, I don't know why they would put dead trees down in here. Looks like a lot of the tumbleweed is blown into here. I definitely wouldn't be driving down in here. It's firm enough I can walk on it, but I think in a vehicle you would definitely sink. It looks like they put a log down in right here. My boots are starting to cake again. It looks right here. It's kind of diverting around again. Let's see how soft this is, just so you can see. This is kind of what my boots are looking like. So they got the big tree in there, which I'm thinking is creating the diversion. I mean, there's still some water coming through. But it kind of looks like it's splitting right here and coming down this way. So I'm gonna make my way back through the water. Ooh, it's a little soft right there. So everybody gets an up close and personal of kind of what it's looking like down in here. See, there's a bottle. I'm not sure if that was, kind of looks like an old bottle. Probably was at the bottom of the lake, which this used to be part of Copco. So like I said, some of this restoration work that they did in here, I don't understand all this wood debris that they have in here. And so that's kind of where they created that dam that's flowing around. You can see it is wet in here. Looks like an oily substance on top of the water. You can kind of see that reflected. And in here it kind of gets wet. Like I said, we have had a lot of rain lately. So we're gonna see how soft it is through here. I think some of this is probably a little stagnant water. Gonna make my way over this way. So it kind of flows over that direction. I think I'm just gonna cut up this way. Some of this kind of looks a little soft. Some of that wetter area has a different look to it. So we're getting towards the top. So there are some deeper areas. That's probably maybe a foot right there, but then you get to where it's maybe 6 inches, 4 inches right there. You can see it's not very wide right here. I'd say 2.5, 3 feet. So that's kind of like the area that we've been walking through. Trying to slow down for you. Looks like they got a sunken fence post over there. That looks a little stagnant over there. It's definitely wet through here. It's actually not too bad, pretty solid really. I thought I'd be sinking more. Just like I said, it's definitely caking on my boots. So we're getting to the top end of where they started restoring East Beaver Creek. Kind of disperses out here a little bit. See a couple water skippers up here. This is kind of where they started the restoration. And this is what it was before they started. I don't know if they started a little bit here. See a fence post down in there. But you can see it's a bit wider here, but it's not very deep. And that would be where East Beaver Creek probably hasn't been touched. So I'm gonna pause it and I'm gonna start heading back down the other way. All right, so I'm making my way back down the creek from where I was just at. So I'll kind of show you what it looks like from the top looking down. And then maybe I'll go back down to where I started. And I might show you guys what it looks like below there. I know that this is a long video, but it's a little field trip. I haven't been down in here. So, gonna make my way back down. So I'm just kind of making my way back down, showing you guys kind of what it looks like as I make my way that direction. I'm not gonna go down there by the creek. I'm gonna stay up here on the high side and then come down here and cross back up to my car. Just so you guys can see what this all looks like. Like I said, I just don't understand all the woody debris that they have scattered down in here. I guess time will tell. We'll see how things progress during the winter. But you can kind of see it all slopes down that direction, and it slopes up. So I don't believe that this creek is known to run this deep or this wide. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this winter. I know last winter was a pretty wet winter. But you can kind of see all the standing water down in here as the ground is absorbing it. It's kind of like a clay type material because it's very sticky. So I'm going to pause it as I make my way through this area. So I'm kind of making my way through, coming back to where East Beaver Creek is. I'm going to go ahead and come over here and cross again where I crossed the first time. But you can see kind of how wet it is in here still, like I said, from all the rains that we've had. I think a good spot I crossed was right up here. So I'm going to go ahead and cross right here. So I'm going to kind of walk down this way. See what things are looking like down the stream. So I'm making my way down East Beaver Creek. You can kind of see where it starts dropping right here in elevation. I don't know if you can really see it, but I can. Come over here, kind of take a look at what things are looking like. Ground is a little soft. I just walked up that way. This is kind of where it starts getting really wet. See, there's good water saturation there. This is kind of the area where it starts getting pretty nasty looking. And on down further, I'm not going to walk down the whole way. I might stop just right up here. But this gun gives everybody a good idea what it's looking like. You can see where all the cat tracks and everything were. You can see where there's been a little bit of runoff from the rainstorms. Definitely getting my exercise today. Some of this I don't know if they planted live, but it's not alive now. And then this is kind of where it bends to that high wall. So a lot of that is the sediment that was on the bottom of the lake. I don't know how much of that might have been here before the lake. Copco was here, I think, it was finished, I think, in the late 1900s. So it was here 105, 110 years. I do know that they added to Copco. Some of these willows are what was here that they planted last summer. So I'm just gonna kind of walk right on over here, see where their tracks are. Then here, I'm gonna just come down here and I think see what things are looking like. I know that this is a long video, but I haven't been down in there, but I figured this would be a good way for everybody to kind of see what it's looking like. I know that everybody's pulled off of this project. They said that they're done with the restoration. So I'm gonna go down here just a little bit further. This looks like it's a deeper pool, maybe 1.5 feet. And up there is the road. I think that right up here is as far as I'm gonna go, and then I'm gonna backtrack to the car just to show you all what it's looking like. So you can see that this is kind of standing a little bit. Like I said, I have not seen any no trespassing signs since I've been in here. So I think that this is as far as I'm gonna go. But I showed you what the lower half looks like. It's a muddy mess down there, but that's what it's looking like from here. So I'm gonna pause it and I'm gonna walk back to my car. So I made my way out of the bottom, and this would be kind of what the top of East Beaver Creek is here at the culvert. So you can see how wide this little pool is, and then as it narrows down, there is a no trespassing sign, so I won't go past that trespassing sign. But you can see that that goes on down, and I'm not sure how much farther down I was from here. And then this is what the upper side of East Beaver Creek looks like as it flows off the mountain. So this is what it looks like off of this culvert, and that's what it's looking like upstream. So I hope you enjoyed this little adventure with me today. Like I said, when I went down in there, I did not see any no trespassing signs. The only one I've seen so far is this private property one. So I went down there and ventured just to kind of see what everything looks like, so that you guys can also see what everything looks like. I'll try to come up here periodically as I can, weather pending. The roads were decent today, but there was a lot of fallen debris and wood in the road. So definitely, you know, think about that if anybody ever wants to come up and see this. I highly suggest that unless you've been up here, maybe not come up until next summer, spring, when things start drying out. I got lucky and the road was decent today after all these storms. So I'll continue to see how the weather goes, and I'll try to come up here as often as I can to kind of show you guys what things are looking like and how things progress. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little field trip with me. This is it for the day. I will see you on my next journey.